Welcome in another episode of my podcast, and today I have a William Bust. He will share with us tips regarding sales and how he's helping people to build their businesses. He's not just working with someone, he's working with people who are already having a business, they might feel stuck, and he helps them to grow to the next level. Thank you very much for coming, William. It was very nice to having you here.
Of course, and thank you, Vincent, for inviting me on. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm a business mentor. I work with small business owners, helping them with strategy and thinking about a concept that I call mastery. And mastery is about stepping beyond your expertise to build the very best business that you can. I've been doing that for 20 years now. It's 2004 that I started my business. Amazing how the time flies. During that time, I've been observing and interviewing lots of small business owners, thinking about what's their journey been? How have they developed from somebody who knew nothing about what they did at some point in their earlier years to being the expert that they are today, and maybe even a master of what they do. And in that work, I've identified and validated there are kind of 5 stages to that journey. So we start off when we know very little as an explorer, and we're hungry for knowledge, and we read and we learn, and it's like learning a language when we know nothing. We want to know what the vocabulary is, what are the rules of the grammar, and so on. So getting all that knowledge allows us then to start developing skills. And when we're in that stage, we're what I call a novice. So we make lots of mistakes, and things don't work quite as we expect, and we try things and make mistakes, and that's all okay. And after a while, we get pretty competent at what we're doing, and move into a stage that I call practitioner. So these are people who know how to do what they do, probably doing it across quite a broad spectrum. So, if you're, for example, maybe a lawyer, you might be working in several branches of the law as a practitioner. So you might be doing contract law on a Monday and criminal law on a Tuesday, and advising somebody on marital matters on a Wednesday, and so on. But gradually, as we hone in on what we really enjoy and what we're really good at, we narrow down the field of what we know, and we become an expert in one of those fields. And that's about gathering experience. And as we gather experience, as I say, we narrow down the area that we work in. So the accountants might become tax accountants. The lawyers might become focused on criminal law or contract law, but almost to the exclusion of the other branches of the law. They still know about them, but they're no longer honing in, practicing, and getting experience in those. Nearly there. There's this final step that I talk about that's about mastery. And for me, that's a stage where we really embody what we do. We become it becomes integral to who we are. It's about our identity as much as it is about what we do. And that's about insights, and about drawing insights from other aspects of our lives, maybe hobbies and things that we do. I'm a photographer as a reasonably serious hobby. In fact, I'm exhibiting some of my work later in the year in London. It's pretty serious now, my photography. I take landscape photographs. Now you think, what's that got to do with business? Well, one of the things that I've learned over the years about photography is that to get a really great photograph, of course, what's in the photograph matters a lot, but also what matters is what you leave out, where you choose to frame the picture, what is out of shot that would be a distraction if it was in shot. And in business too, I think the really successful businesses concentrate on keeping the right things in focus and dropping the things that don't matter so much to that particular business. So as often as not, it's about what they choose to say no to that makes them successful, as well as what they say yes to. And I can see the analogy between the photography that I'm doing and the business mentoring work that I'm doing. And it's that kind of where you can draw insight from other aspects of your life that come to bear on that narrow area of expertise that elevates people to mastery, because they start seeing things that other people don't see.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes them stand out.
Absolutely. Amazing. Thank you very much for sharing. It's a great that you have created this kind of like what you discovered, the analogy of, explorer, novice, practitioner, expert and master. How do you work with your clients? So when you mentioned that you work with companies which are startup companies, or maybe they're a little bit advanced, where do you step in and what would you help them with?
Great question. Thank you. So I generally don't work with very new startups who would be at the beginning of that journey, the explorers. I tend to work with businesses that have been in business for a little while. They are established in their market. They're known for what they do, but they're feeling like there's something getting in the way of them really developing the exact vision that they had for the business in the first place. And as often as not, that is about making one of these transitions, either from practitioner to expert or from expert to master. And so what I do is I work with them, first of all, to uncover where they are and where the blocks and the things that are getting in the way of them succeeding, where those sit. And then we develop a strategy to get through those blocks, or to step around them, or indeed sometimes to say, that block is over there. I've been trying to go over there and I'm blocked doing that. Now, actually, if I go over there, I can then get to my goals a different way. And so, we're looking to identify those ways to overcome the hurdles. And mostly I do that one-to-one with the business owner through a number of processes that I've developed over the years that are really there to help identify the strategy that's most important right now, and to work with them to plan the implementation of that strategy.
And we are a little bit similar. Obviously, you have more experience in that field. I just started with business coaching as well. I do property coaching for past 3 years almost, but with the business last year, because people were asking me, can you help me with the different business which is not property, and the principles are the same, but I can see really the power of when somebody else comes, like outsider, like me or you as a mentor or coach, you can very clearly discover what is it they can be doing differently, or discover like there are money lying on the ground and you can just pick them up. But because if people are in that kind of busy daily habits of running that business, sometimes they don't see those things, and it's just about hiring one person and suddenly like, here you are.
I'm always minded that we can't often see what's right in front of us because we're seeing it every day. And we become a little bit blind to it because it's there all the time. And a good coach, a good business mentor can ask really what can be quite a simple question, but a really searching question that enables somebody just to take that momentary step back and think, and you see it on their faces, that moment of, why didn't I see that? That's been staring me in the face for months. And it's not a failing of the business owner. It's simply a reality of our humanity, that we can be involved with something so closely that we just don't see what's right in front of us until it's pointed out. It's like the old thing about, if you buy a new car, you haven't seen a blue Mercedes or whatever it is you decided to buy on the roads. You buy one and suddenly that's all you see. And it's because we've opened our minds to the possibility, and then we start to see those things. And that's what a good coach or a mentor does, is really open up a business owner's mind to the possibilities that are there already, and enable them to see the right approach to take hold of those opportunities. And that's the power of it, I think.
How many people do you usually want to work with a year? If somebody would want to work with you, do you have still a space, or how busy you are? Because obviously I know, it takes time to work with someone properly. So just so we have a little bit of an idea if somebody would be listening and wanted to get in touch with you regarding that.
So I tend to work at any one time with no more than 5 or 6 clients. It's partly because, mentoring and coaching work is actually, it's really quite tiring. You're focused on the person and on the challenges they face in quite an intense way when you're working with them one to one. So I don't want, I could fill my diary with more clients, but I don't want to do that. I want to be fresh. I want to be able to bring a clear mind to every meeting. So I work with 5 or 6 at any one time. And usually the work will run for something between 4 months to a year. I guess the average is probably about 8 months that I work with a client. And so I'm bringing new clients into the business through the year, not vast numbers of them, but probably through a year, there's maybe 8 to 10 new clients that will join me and 8 to 10 that will leave as well. So, at any one time, I don't, if 5 people contacted me tomorrow and said, we'd love to work with you, I would struggle with that. If 1 or 2 did, that would be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because obviously I see it's important to balance all the things in our life. Like you love photography, right? So you want to have a time to do those things. You don't want to just get busy and have a clients, because obviously you can have a lot of money, but if you don't have the time to do stuff, it's not really good actually show to people like why to build a business, right?
Well, and one of the most important things about running your own business, of course we all want to be successful. And what success means to each of us is a different thing as well. So part of the work I do is to really help people understand what success for them looks like. And for some people, that means having time to spend with their children or their grandchildren, and being able to afford to do that, having a business that supports a lifestyle. For others, it's about building a legacy and building a business that they can pass on to their children or to somebody else. So what success means very different. But in that, what I think is a constant is that the business owner is a human being. And if human being isn't well looked after, isn't, emotionally, physically, mentally well, then the business isn't going to thrive either. So, big key part of running a business to me is thinking about, what do I need as an individual? What do I need to be able to grow and develop as an individual as well as the business? And keeping those aligned is really important too.
I just I've done a lot of different trainings, but just recently in January, I've done the Business Mastery with Tony Robbins, which is like 5 full days on. It was USA time, so we started 3 p.m., finished at 3 a.m. in UK time. That was crazy 5 days, but it's that, yeah. It's like having a coach, going on a training, learning things. Is like, it really opens your mind to what is possible when you are learning from someone who's on the higher level, right?
And that's really important, I think, to think about for any of the listeners to your podcast who are working really hard in their business, running fast all day long to get things done and never having a moment to think for themselves, is to really, if you can, to take a step back and think about, come back to the photography thing, what can I leave out? Will give me some space for me, so that I can be the best person that I can be, because then I can run the best business. Yeah,
it's very important. I can see that very often with people who are building a business, and I was like that as well, and I'm working on it as well. So it's, taking that step of, firstly finding out how valuable you are as a person, and after not doing everything, and you can have different people to do different tasks. And sometimes it can be scary from the beginning. It's like, yeah, but I don't know how I can pay him. But I think if you know what is your value and you can find that business, to your business, so you'll discover that you can grow it much faster and you have more time and more freedom. But at the beginning, it's very scary.
Yeah, really is.
So let's say that somebody approaches you, you start working with them, if you wouldn't mind, what would be like first few things what you would discover with them, like any tool what you would use or something what you would ask them so they start thinking more about it? Like, would you want to share something?
Sure. So I on the my website, which is williambuse.com, there is an audit which you can take, which will allow you to see where you are on that journey of mastery as you progress through your business in 5 different areas. So that gives us a baseline from which we can look at where are the areas where somebody's self-assessing, obviously, but is feeling like they need to put some time and effort into. And so I'll focus on those areas to help understand those better. So that audit's available whether we work together or not. It's a free audit. So anybody who's listening can go to the website, they'll find the audit there. And that what's output from that is a report which it's not automated, it's not done by AI. I have a template, but what I'm looking at is the results from what they've completed on the website, and then within that I'll give some advice on where to focus. So that bit's free, but it gives us the baseline on which to build on. What I then do, somebody wants to work with me, generally we do a day together to begin with. That day, quite intense day really, we dig under the skin of the business, what the business model is, what the vision that the business owner has for it, and so on. And out of that, I'm able to document the kind of headline strategies that I think would work for them. And we'd agree those strategies, and that's the start of building the plan to implement them. Then from that point, what I tend to do with most clients is that we would meet virtually on Zoom, as we are now, once a month, or an hour, 90 minutes, something like that, where we would revisit that plan and see where they are on the implementation of it. I can give advice on any challenges that have arisen through the previous month, and set a goal for the next month. So it's kind of accountability partnership, which runs for a few months with the intention that they've got the strategy embedded in the business at the end of it. And as I said earlier, that tends to be 4 to 8 months, somewhere around that, where they then feel comfortable that the business has moved on a level, they know what they're doing, and so at that point, maybe they don't need the accountability so much. What I also find is that quite often with clients, they'll reach that point, they'll implement, so they'll feel like they've got the things under control, the business is thriving, and they come back a year later because they've now moved to another level and there's another stage to go through. So that's the sort of broad outline of how I work.
Perfect, thank you. Actually, based on that, I have 2 questions. Is there any, like, a most common issue when you are working with all those businesses, which is like very common, like, I don't know, it's like a problem with its marketing, or they don't know how to sell their product, or they don't have that clear vision or that business model? Is there anything like which is popping up on, after 10 clients, that 7 of them, this is the common problem?
There's a few. But I think one of the commonest things is undervaluing the product that you have, particularly for service businesses. If you are a coach, a mentor, a trainer, if you're in one of those markets where what you do is more of a service than I sell computer mice or whatever it is, where it's a product, there isn't anywhere you can go to say that service costs this much money. You can work with a coach who will charge pennies, and you can work with coaches who will charge thousands of pounds. So the range is enormous, and I think the common problem is that there's a kind of perception that if I keep my prices low, it'll be easier to sell. And I think there's a flaw in that conclusion. The flaw is that if your prices are cheap, people assume that your product is cheap, and that it may not be good enough for what they do. I am not the cheapest in the market. I never will be the cheapest in the market. I'm not the most expensive either. But I hope that I'm valuing what I do at what it's genuinely worth. And so the common thing that I find working with clients is to get them to push their prices up. And I have a strategic way to do that that I think works for most businesses. And that is, when you win a client, put your price up, because they were prepared to pay what you're paying now. You don't know what your market rate is because the market won't tell you. But if you were, let's say, a coach selling a coaching session for £100, for example, you win a client, put it up to 120. You win the next client, put it up to 140. You win the next client, put it up to 160. The next client, the next prospect says, oh, that's too much for me. Well, maybe you can reduce it a little bit, but don't reduce it back to the 140 you were at last time. Take it down to 150 or 155.
Absolutely.
And that way you will hone in on where the market really values what you do. And the other is, to be confident that you are worth more than you're charging. Because I honestly believe almost everybody offering a service is worth more than what they currently charge. And as a mindset, I think that's quite useful to help when you're selling the product, to be able to say, I charge, for example, the day that I spend with people, I charge £3,000 for that. There's work beforehand, there's work afterwards, there's reports and documentation that they get as a result of that as well. So that it's not just the day, it's what goes around it. It's £3,000. I have no qualms that I'm delivering more value than that to the business owner. So that's the price.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's really good. And also from the point of view of the others, like when I started, I wanted to just get first few clients for coaching, right? So I was like, okay, I'll do the 6 weeks program, £600. But the thing is, most of the people, they didn't even took it seriously. We worked for a while, but there was not enough of action. There was not much results, because the thing is, if they would miss the session, they were like, it's not that much, so whatever, right? But now when I charge obviously more, depends on what type of coaching, but in thousands, right? So when somebody, so they need to show up on the session, and if they are not prepared, then they know that they would be losing a lot of money. So it's very important for them to take action, be prepared, and so it's place for both sides. I believe, like, if you pay more, you pay more attention. Yeah,
absolutely right. And if you're charging what you believe you're worth, then the chances are the people who are buying it will believe you're worth that as well. Yeah. If you're charging a lot less than you're really worth, they will think you're worth a lot less. And you attract a different sort of client, probably the wrong sort of client, who's focused on the price they have to pay rather than the value that they're going to get.
Based on that also, I don't know who was saying that. I think there was someone on the interview with the pricing. It says, like, if 3 clients tells you yes in a row, you should increase the prices. Like you are saying, after one each yes. And it just remind me, it's like, things what you know, but it's important to apply them. And I was just thinking, the last 4 people I offered actually my coaching, which I had this deep conversation with them, they all said yes. It was 3 of them in December and 1 yesterday. And I'm like, okay, so probably that is the time I should increase, because all of them, they said yes, and there was not really much objections going on with that. So it's, thank you for reminding me. So if somebody's watching and wants to be my client, so next time you'll pay more.
Perfect. I think the other thing that's very common is that we tend to lock ourselves into ways of doing things. So we do things because that's the way we've always done them. And I see business after business after business where they've kind of forgotten why they do something that particular way. But when you dig into it, it's just, well, we've always done it that way, and actually may not be the best way. And I'm always aware that every decision that you've ever taken in your business, every decision I've ever taken in my business, was taken by somebody with less experience than I have today. Mm-hmm. So I could probably make a better decision today than I did when I took that decision 2 years ago or 5 years ago. So it's always important to revisit the way that you're doing certain things in the business, the decisions that you made some time ago, and ask yourself, is that still the right decision for this business today? And quite often it isn't, but because you're not challenging that past decision because it's done and dusted, you don't change it.
Okay, I have one more thing to ask at the moment. What came to my mind? If you work with someone for a full day, they pay you, you create the strategy for them. Does it sometimes happen that in a month's time, when you have the accountability and you go and see what he's done, they'll just say like, I didn't do it. I was so busy, caught up in the business, but nothing happened, nothing changed, and
all the time. So a big part of those accountability sessions is about looking at why is that happening, and what can we change to allow the space for that strategy to be delivered. I'm working with a client at the moment. Part of their strategy is about bringing in some new skills to the business to deliberately so that they can free up their time as a business owner to be able to do some different things. The key part of recruiting somebody, of course, is putting a job advert out and writing the job spec so that people can apply. And that took rather longer than our original plan because work got in the way, because he doesn't have the person to take that day-to-day work away. Real catch-22.
Yeah.
So we spent a bit of time on the phone, and I took some of the drafting work because I understood the business well enough, did that for them so that got that through that particular block, and they were able to get the advert out, and they're interviewing this week. So, things have moved on.
Yeah.
Without the accountability sessions, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Because the opportunity to look at, well, why has this happened? What can I do to help alleviate that wouldn't have arisen. So really a good point.
Yeah, I have a very good example on that, what you mentioned. I have a client, we started with the first few sessions, and one of the things is that he's overwhelmed with the business for 25 years, really good, but really working there for a long time actively. And so we were saying like, okay, you need someone to help you to hire a person, but there was this like, it takes time to write a proper advertisement, and I don't know what to do, and and it was like kind of a block for a week. And after we had the session, I'm like, have you ever used ChatGPT? It can help you to write an advertisement. And the next session is like, yeah, we wrote the advert. We had the interview, and we actually hired the person. Everything happened in the week, but the biggest block was to write the ad because he didn't write one for years and years. So that was like the big thing to do. But all the rest, interviewing and hiring, it was all easy for him. But just this blog, and I'm like, I'm not good. English is not my first language. I'm like, I'm not gonna really help you in here that much. But you either find someone or just use the technology which is available now, and it really overcome that challenge. Yeah.
It's a perfect example, isn't it? And that's I think, and again, it comes down to, actually, it's often easier for somebody outside the organization to do those kinds of things because they've got that different viewpoint. They've got a different lens, to use a photographic analogy again. They've got a different lens on the problem, so we can see it differently. It doesn't matter, I don't think, often that your language, because English isn't your first language, but even my language isn't the language of that business. It's the language of my business. So I might use words they wouldn't use anyway. But if we get the draft done, then it's much easier for somebody to go, this is great, don't like that sentence, change that, and it's much quicker than staring at a blank piece of paper.
You are a member of PSA community, which is Professional Speaking Association, right?
I am.
Would you mind just tell us a little bit more about that? Because I'm trying to a little bit promote it as well. So who wants to become a speaker, they can kind of get to know this community.
Yeah, of course. So it's the Professional Speaking Association. It's there for people who use speaking to audiences, can be quite small audiences. So, not just people who speak from a stage to a massive room full of people, but also the trainers, the facilitators, the people who do maybe after dinner speaking or that kind of business as well, but it's anybody who's using speaking as a way of either making money in their business or of attracting clients to their business, where speaking is important. It's a national organization. In fact, it's almost international because we are the PSA UK and Ireland, and it's the whole of Ireland, so Southern Ireland as well as Northern Ireland. And we have 12 regions, and those regions have monthly meetings where you can come and meet other speakers, hear some really good quality speakers delivering business content generally. So they'll be talking about how to use speaking in your business, how to build aspects of business. I speak at some of these meetings on mastery and about how we can become masters of our own skills. So you'll see some great speakers. You'll have the opportunity also to network with the other members. We're a fabulous community of people. It's one of the few organizations that I've ever belonged to where genuinely, I think, if you ask for help, there are 101 people who genuinely offer it, not looking for anything in return, but that if we each grow, we all grow. So there's a real sharing, collaborative spirit in the membership. We also have two big conferences a year. This year we have a one-day conference in London in April, and in October we have a 3-day really big conference with international speakers. We've got people from Canada, from America, from New Zealand, I think, coming this year to our big conference. So typically 200-300 people at the 3-day event, a couple of hundred people at the one-day event. So really great opportunities to network and meet people who are running successful speaking businesses and learn from them. But also to make great connections and help each other do business too through referrals and that sort of thing. So it's a membership organization, so I'd encourage anybody who's interested in it to go and have a look at the website. It's thepsa.co.uk, and on the website at the top in the menu you'll find a tab that says events. So go and look for an event near you that you could go along to, and the first time you go as a visitor, you can join us for half the normal price for a non-member, which makes it a very cost-effective way to come and see, is this for me? Am I going to get benefit from being a member? I think anybody who's using speaking will get benefit, but of course you should come and try it out for yourself first and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing that. I'm a member just not even a year. I joined in June or July. I visited few regional events all over, but I have at the moment I have only say good things about this community. I've also done the summit last year, the conference, and from that built connections like you mentioned. And actually this Saturday I'm coming for an event which is organized by one of the members, and he allowed me to have that half an hour on stage to speak, because I'm looking for the speaking opportunities, which is amazing. Last week I've been in Nottingham, delivered my showcase for 10 minutes, got some feedback, some good feedback, something to improve. And so it's a really good community. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I've seen you at the end of the event in Nottingham that you are going there next month, right? Or this month?
I am.
Yes, with Chantal also, right? We are going together.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll have some fun that night. I'm going to be talking about mastermind groups, how to build a group of people, 6 to 8, who work together regularly to support each other and help. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how that helps build mastery for the individuals in the group. So yeah, a little bit different, and we'll have a lot of fun because we're going to put it into practice on the night as well. It's a lovely group up in Nottingham. They have some really great people there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a good crowd. Actually, it was around 30 people or 35. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So one last thing what I would like to mention or ask you, if somebody is either starting a business or a little bit advanced in a business and want to scale it but feeling stuck, is there a one advice or tip what you would give them which can help them to a little bit grow or overcome some challenges?
Yes. One really quick thing, I think, is don't do it alone. Find somebody who you really trust, who you can spend time with, who understands you as an individual, that you can be completely transparent and open with. Maybe that's an accountability partner, somebody like you or I, who you're paying for, but maybe it's a really good personal friend. It doesn't really matter. I just think running a business can be a lonely activity. So don't do it alone.